it has been tough sledding in recent memory for the New Mexico Lobos out of the Mountain West Conference. This is the last team we will preview and predict out of the Mountain West Conference this year. And while it could be another rough year for the Lobos here in 2023, this Wolf finally may be able to hunt this season. There are a lot of transfers coming in that I believe help to push this team in the right direction, or at least so some people may think. This is a Lobo team that could continue to see struggles in 2023 as well. So which is right? Is this Lobo team going to continue to struggle and once again fall back down to the bottom of the mountain in 2023? Or is this going to be the year where this team finally starts to take steps in the right direction? What's up, Tailgaters? My name is Tailgate Nate. Welcome to my channel. I am previewing and predicting all 133 FBS level college football teams, and most of them already have a video on my channel. So if you just found my channel, you want to see my thoughts on your team, or I haven't done your team yet out of the Mid-American Conference or Conference USA, hit that subscribe button, ring the bell, so you can also hear my thoughts during the season as well. But there are more ways than that. You can help me support my channel. You're doing one right now by watching the video, and you can do more by liking, commenting, sharing, and anything else that you guys are willing able to do to help me support my channel. But enough about me. Let's talk about New Mexico football here in 2023. We're going to go through a roster overview and look at who the team lost, who's coming back, and who's coming in through the transfer portal and recruiting class, as well as taking a look at the 2023 New Mexico Lobo football schedule. That's Spanish for wolf, by the way, is Lobo. And then we'll give it a game-by-game preview and prediction. So without further ado, let's talk about the New Mexico Lobos here in 2023. We'll start with the offense as per usual, starting with the quarterback position again as per usual, and Miles Kendrick and CJ Montez will be gone. Now, Miles Kendrick was the primary option, but again, no quarterback really performed great for the Lobos last season. They didn't even have a 1,000-yard passer. Nonetheless, they didn't even have a 900-yard passer. Kendrick had 863 yards, 3 touchdowns, 7 picks on almost 59% completion percentage, and Montez 174 yards and a lone interception for him last year. Now, you do get Justin Holiday. You do get Justin Holiday coming back to this team, 222 yards in the pick for him last year. But my belief, and probably what's going to end up happening, one of these two transfers they have coming in will be the starter for this Lobo team. Now, both of them have very similar builds. Tabscott was a little bit of a higher rated recruit coming out of high school, but I am going to go with Dylan Hopkins. He's a transfer from UAB, and I mentioned Tabscott's last name earlier, but DC is a transfer over from App State. So Dylan Hopkins, I believe, again, with the more college experience he had, again, he did play over at UAB, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but was the full-time starter over there for at least one season, but does have a lot of playing time at UAB. I believe that experience will serve him well to be this team's starting quarterback. At least that's what I believe here entering 2023. The running back room, well, you do lose your leading rusher, only guy with over 100 carries last year. That was Nathaniel Jones, 544 yards and 2 touchdowns for him last season. You do return a couple pretty good players, your second and third leading rushers out of, or in terms of running backs last season, Christian Washington and Sherrod White, but it is this transfer coming in by the name of Andrew Henry that is expected to receive the bulk amount of carries this season. However, maybe a little bit of a deeper wide receiver room than what the Lobos have seen in the past. When you take a look at the wide receiver room, well, there's a big loss here as well, as Jordan Porter, really talented wide receiver, just didn't get to show it. I don't think his full potential here with this New Mexico program. 312 yards and 2 touchdowns for him last season. Was the team's leading receiver. I do think that's a more substantial loss than that stat line would indicate. However, your number 1 and your number 2 and number 3 leading receivers from last season, and Luke Wysong and Andrew Erickson, are both coming back. Those are the only other 2 guys to reach over 100 yards last season. But other than that, it's a lot of transfers in the wide receiver room for this Lobo program. Caleb Medford, DJ Washington, Jeremiah Hickson, and many other names enter this wide receiver room to help give a boost to this program. When we take a look at the tight end room, Elijah Queen is going to be coming back. 10 catches for 96 yards last season, but you do get a transfer that, again, is expected to lead this tight end room, and that's Magnus Gears, who right now is in that, who right now is taking first team reps. At least that's what it is according to ourlads.com on their depth chart. And on the offensive line, couldn't really find any notable losses, so here are some returners. CJ James, JC Davis, and DJ Wingfield. I know they all got short little abbreviations there, but CJ James, JC Davis, DJ Wingfield, again, I said them all again, will return for the offensive line for the Lobos here in 2023. Now, let's take a look at the defensive side of the ball for New Mexico here this upcoming season. Again, taking a look at the defensive line first. well, you do lose a lot of names off of this defensive line. Justin Harris is the most notable one, tied for second on the team in sacks last year, had 4 of them, 32 tackles, made him good to be a top 10 tackler on the team last season. Jake Saltonstall was at, or I believe close to being a top 10 tackler. He is gone. Omar Durame and Jaden Phillips, some other names that leave the defensive front as well. However, Tyler Kine, I believe is how you say that last name. He will be coming back, as well as Kyler Drake and Bryce Santana. And then, again, some transfers are coming in. Gabriel Lopez and Hunter Rapola are going to be coming into this program to help give a boost to this defensive line. Gabriel Lopez is coming over from Washington State. And that's the one I have for you. I believe Rapola might be another Power 5 transfer, or he's a community college transfer. Again, I'm not sure which is which. I don't have that in my little notes thing over here. But let's transition quickly over to the linebacking room. Cody Moon, who was your leading tackler last year, broke triple digits, 104 tackles. Not only that, he led the team in sacks with 4.5. He is going to be gone off of this team. You're also going to lose Dion Hunter, Dion Hunter, however you pronounce that first name. 70 tackles made him 4th on the team, 2 sacks last season for him as well. And then Recco Hanna is gone as well. 67 tackles and 4 sacks, again, tied for second on the team last season. So your top 3 sack leaders are gone from last season. However, Syer Riley, Ray Liutele, and Alec Marenko will be back as linebackers for the Lobos this season. Now in the defensive back room, this is another very substantial loss, as Jarek Reed is gone. 93 tackles and by far the most on the team, with 11 passes defended last season. Adari Halsey is also gone, was the team's 3rd leading tackler, tied for the team lead with 2 interceptions last season. AJ Odoms is also going to be gone. 48 tackles made him good to be a top 10 tackler. And then Ronald Wilson, also a top 10 tackler, tied with Halsey for those 2 interceptions last season. So who comes back? Well, it might not be as deep of a secondary this season as it was last year. Dante Martin, Tavian Combs, Jermarius Lewis, and Zach Morris, as well as some transfers, most notably Diarco McAllister Perkins, are going to be coming in to this program. Your head coach is Danny Gonzalez. I think he's on the hot seat here in 2023. Your offensive coordinator is Brian Vincent. Defensive coordinator Troy Reffitt. As now we take a look at the Lobo football schedule for 2023. Any game at home is going to be underlined, while any game on the road will be in italics or that slanted text. Any game you see in green is a game that I think the Lobos are going to be able to win easily. Any game in yellow is a game that might be a back and forth 50-50 type game, but the Lobos are still going to be able to win, and then red is a loss. So without further ado, let's talk about the Lobos here in 2023. You got to go on the road to play Texas A&M in week 1, and I do believe that that is going to be a loss. Texas A&M, just a superiorly more talented team. This should be an easy win for the Aggies in week 1. It's a team that's also going to play with their hair on fire after their very disappointing season last year. So that's going to be a bona fide loss any way you slice it for the Lobos there in week 1. But week 2, you do get an FCS level opponent in Tennessee Tech that I think New Mexico is going to be able to hang on there and win that game. Again, no more explanation needed. Again, I do think this Lobo team has improved in some areas of the game, and I think it'll pay off here in getting a win early in the year against the Tennessee Tech Golden Eagles, and I believe that momentum's going to continue. I got a little bit of an upset here. I do think New Mexico, staying at home here, building momentum, is going to beat the New Mexico State Aggies. Sorry, I had a little frog in my throat there, but the New Mexico State Aggies, I believe, are going to fall to the Lobos here. Again, I think the Lobos improved in some areas. I think they definitely improved in the quarterback play, even though Jordan Porter is gone. You got a lot of talent out of the transfer portal in that wide receiver room. Defense has picked up a lot of nice transfers as well. This is an improved New Mexico team. This is an in-state rivalry type game, but I think New Mexico going to be able to win there. But then you got to go on the road and play UMass. And I'm sorry to say, Lobo fans, but I do think you are going to end up dropping this game. Now, while I could see it as a very winnable game for this program, I do end up having you losing this game. UMass is a team that I think is, and again, you might want to check your sheets after this, because UMass added a lot of former Power 5, some former 3-star and 4-stars out of high school. That team has improved significantly under Don Brown being that head coach. And UMass, I just think it's going to be too good of a football team this year to win only one game. I think they're going to lose that or win at least one more game, and I think it's this one right here against the New Mexico Lobos. So while you come off of an upset win against New Mexico State, you're going to end up dropping that game on the road to the UMass Minutemen. And then you get into conference play, and it could be rough sledding here as well. On the road against Wyoming, just too much defensive firepower for the Cowboys this season. A lot coming back on defense, going to be one of the better units in the Mountain West Conference. And then the offense has a lot of nice returning pieces as well. Yes, you do lose a couple key contributors, but Andrew Peasley, their quarterback, is expected to improve this season, but again, not expected to light the world on fire, right? Be more of a game manager, let the defense take over. The defense already will be too much for this New Mexico team to be able to handle. Then you get your bye week and you get to come home to play the San Jose State Spartans. This time offensively, it's going to be a little bit too much for this Lobo team's defense to be able to handle. Siobhan Cordero is one of the best quarterbacks in the conference. The former Hawaii Rainbow Warrior coming over to this program had a really good season last year. And even though he's got some new players to work with there in the wide receiver room, I think it's still a very talented offensive unit. Defense is adding some good pieces as well. San Jose State wouldn't shock me if they made a conference championship game this year. That will be a loss for New Mexico. However, I do think New Mexico, again, with all that they've improved, with all the players that they've gotten and they have coming back, I think are going to be good enough this year to win at least one conference game, and I have it being against the Hawaii Rainbow Warriors here. Hawaii is a team that's going through a long rebuilding process right now, and I think it is going to be a long rebuilding process, especially after all the transfers they lost once Timmy Chang came in to be that head coach. But Hawaii, when I take a look at this team entering, I still see that rebuilding process continue. Yeah, there are some transfers coming in. You do have some good returning players as well. I just don't have a lot of faith in the Rainbow Warriors this season, so I believe that is going to be a win for New Mexico. So you've already surpassed your win total from last year. I do believe at least equaled it with those 3 wins, but it's going to be pretty tough to win a game from here on out. Nevada is a winnable game, but going on the road there, I do think you drop that game. Again, it's hard to see Nevada not improving from where they were last year. They were one of the worst teams in the FBS last year, and I believe that while again, it's not the most talented team by any stretch in the Mountain West Conference, you do have some transfers coming in. There is still some nice talent there, lots of good returning talent as well. Again, I think there is simply too much here for Nevada to not improve. New Mexico, I think, is going to keep this game close and competitive, but I do have the Wolfpack winning that game there against the Lobos. Then you got to play UNLV, the in-state rival counterpart of the Nevada Wolfpack, and you will be dropping this game as well. UNLV has hopes of making a bowl game this season. You got a lot of returning talent offensively, even though you do lose Aiden Robbins, who is a dude in the running back room. Defense added a lot of nice transfers as well. Going to be a very competitive UNLV team this year. New Mexico will drop that game. And then your next 2 ones are really tough. I think you're going to drop both of them to Boise State and Fresno State. Might be the 2 favorites in the conference. You got to play both of them on the road. Kind of a little bit of an unfair scheduling advantage, if you ask me, if I were a Lobo fan. But again, you got to play your schedule. These are just 2 really good teams. Boise State is loaded. Taylon Green's one of the best quarterbacks in the conference. Really good offensive skill position players. A solid defense. That's going to be a very good team. One of, if not the favorites in the Mountain West. Fresno State, even with all they lost on offense, you got Mikey Keene coming in. You got some transfers coming in. Some good recruits coming in there as well. Fresno State's going to still be a good team this year. The reigning Mountain West champs are going to look to defend that title this season. And then your final game against Utah State, I think, is winnable for this New Mexico program. Utah State is a team that, much like Hawaii, I just don't have a lot of confidence in. Ever since winning that Mountain West title in 2021, they've just slid. And I think they're going to continue to slide this year. But I think there are too many pieces here with some really good talent offensively, even though they do lose a lot of their key contributors. There are transfers coming into that program that I think give them a boost ahead of this New Mexico program. So even though the game is at home for the Lobos, I do see them dropping it. But I think a slight step in the right direction. Now, 3-9 might not be good enough to save Danny Gonzalez's job. However, 3-9, when you take a look at this program, winning a game in the Mountain West, I think definitely is a step in the right direction for the Lobo program. That's going to do it for my thoughts on the Lobos and the Mountain West standings video and recap coming up next. Don't forget, remember to play hard but tailgate harder. See you guys in the next video.